Good evening. This is the special coverage of the coronavirus crisis using the combined forces of News 5 and Signal TV's 1 News, Radyo 5 and 1PH. The number of confirmed COVID-19 cases in the country has almost reached 8,500 based on the Health Department's latest tally. As of today, there are 8,488 confirmed cases of the SARS-like disease, with 276 new infections in the last 24 hours. 20 new recoveries were recently recorded, bringing in a total of 1,043 patients who recovered from the illness. 568 patients passed away, with 10 new deaths recorded today. The fatalities, unfortunately, include 2 babies. The department also reports the country's daily testing capacity is still at 6,420 per day, thus failing to meet their goal of increasing the country's capacity to 8,000 tests per day today, April 30. Still, Health Undersecretary Maria Rosario Vergeres says they will continue their efforts to reach this target. Government agencies are studying a possible extension of the LGU deadline for the distribution of cash aid under the Social Amelioration Program, which was supposed to end today. Interior Secretary Ed Año says a 7-day extension may be granted to highly populated areas such as NCR, the provinces of Rizal, Cavite, Laguna, and Bulacan, as well as Cebu City and Davao City. Año said physical distancing guidelines may be overlooked if these LGUs rush distribution just to meet the deadline. The DILG and the DSWD, however, remind local officials that a full liquidation report on the distribution is needed before they can proceed with applications for the second tranche of the SAP cash subsidy. LGUs were originally given until today to finish the distribution of the first tranche of cash aid under the Social Amelioration Program. But in some areas, distribution is far from done. Some local officials are even pointing fingers at the Social Welfare Department for the lack of guidance on the implementation of the program. Melos Baños with a story.
56-year-old Flordeliza Bonaobra is diabetic and she's also undergoing dialysis for her kidney ailment. Given her condition, she's supposed to receive treatment thrice a week. But due to lack of funds, since the enforcement of the enhanced community quarantine, she gets to undergo dialysis for only twice a week. On top of that, her husband suffered a stroke. Flordeliza complains that there is no one in their family who is earning right now and they desperately need financial help from the government. Problem is, until now, they haven't even filled out a DSWD form for the Social Amelioration Program.
Hindi nga po kami nabigyan ng form. Ang sabi po nila, pumuntahan sa bahay, bibigyan ng form. Hindi nga po. Nung pumunta po yung asawa ko doon, wala na daw pong form. Nilista lang po yung pangalan, sabi na tawagan kami. Nakakailang follow-up na po siya, wala talaga.
But their barangay administrator says there is no hope for now that Flordeliza can be accommodated. Out of the 7,000 families in Barangay Pantok, Binangonan, Rizal, where she resides, the DSWD only allocated 1,574 SAP forms. And the most indigent households were given priority in the distribution of forms.
Ito pong nagreklamo po sa inyo, sana po sila ay makipag-ugnayan sa ating barangay. At ating bibigyan ng oras na sila'y makausap at mapaliwanagan nang sa gayon malaman natin kung anong problema o ang pangangailangan nila baka sakaling maibigay ng ating kapitan.
Over at Navotas City, we met Fe Urbano who just received her 8,000 peso amelioration.
Talaga napakasaya kasi pambili ng gamot, tsaka pambili ng yung nebulizer, hindi na ako manghihiram. Kasi hinihika ako, meron akong asthma. Lalo na pagka naglalakad akong malayo, nahabol ko yung hininga ko.
The Navotas LGU has been giving out the financial aid since April 18. But even with the ongoing payout, Mayor Toby Chanco himself admits the process is slow and what took them so long was identifying SAP beneficiaries. And he blames the Social Welfare Department for this. The mayor complains that out of the city's 60,000 families, the allocation given by the DSWD was only good for more than 27,000 households. He adds the agency did not even provide a list of who these indigent targets are. Currently, the city government has only distributed amelioration to 11% of the total beneficiaries.
Nung namimigay pa lang kami ng forms, ang dami ng reklamo, ang dami ng text messages na sinasabi, oh, huwag niyo papili sa barangay, o huwag niyo papili sa ganito, di ba? So they wanted transparency. So the most transparent way is yung listahanan. Ang problema, hindi naman binigay sa amin yung listahanan.
The DSWD meanwhile explains that they provided the LGUs clear guidelines on how to choose the beneficiaries for the SAP.
Ang DSWD ay naniniwala at nagtitiwala sa ating mga lokal na pamahalaan, considering na mas kilala nila kung sino sa kanilang mga constituents ang dapat mapasama doon sa social amelioration program base doon sa eligibility criteria na the DSWD has provided.
But Mayor Chanco insists they could have finished the distribution of the cash aid faster and earlier if only the list was given to them.
Kaya mabagal is because, yun nga, mabagal yung pag-identify at hindi din ganun kabilis mag-distribute ng pondo. Inavotas, kaya medyo bumagal pa kami ng konti is kasi madami kaming natutuklasan na mga hindi nagde-declare ng totoo, tapos meron pang mga nagdo-double ng form, double application of form. Siyempre dapat salain namin yan, di ba? So talagang medyo makaagal.
The Navotas LGU targets to finish the first tranche of SAP by the second week of May. For News 5, Mean Los Baños, we are One News.
Foreign travels might not yet be possible until next year as the Department of Tourism gears for the implementation of a new normal for the country's tourism industry. Secretary Bernadette Romulo Puyat says traveling abroad at this point is but a dream, even after the enhanced community quarantine. Under the new normal set by the DOT, tourism establishments will undergo regular inspection. Sanitation and disinfecting devices will be provided for tourism workers. Hotels are also advised to practice contactless check-in and avoid breakfast buffets. Puyat says the new normal will be implemented until a vaccine for COVID-19 is found. More stories coming after a quick break. This is our special coverage on the COVID-19 pandemic. Stay with us. Welcome back. You are still watching the special coverage of the coronavirus crisis using the combined forces of News 5 and Signal TV's One News, Radyo 5 and 1PH. Manila Mayor Isko Moreno signs an executive order placing Manila's 1st District under hard lockdown beginning Sunday. The hard lockdown will take effect from 5 a.m. of May 3 to 5 a.m. of May 5 Tuesday. Under the order, the entire District 1 will be shut down to give way to the surveillance and mass testing operations. Around 500,000 residents will be affected. Exempted from the hard lockdown is Divisoria's night market and the Manila International Container Port to ensure the continuous supply of food and the flow of cargo. The Philippine National Police is considering to use taser guns in dealing with quarantine violators. In a virtual press conference, PNP Chief Archie Gamboa says they are eyeing this option after a series of controversial incidents involving policemen during the enhanced quarantine period. This includes the scuffle between a police and a Spanish expat in Makati City, the alleged trespassing of policemen in a condominium in BGC, and the death of ex-soldier Winston Ragos in Quezon City. Gamboa adds he is open for any probe against law enforcers for possible human rights violation. However, he maintains that policemen are always reminded about upholding human rights.
It's part of the plan of the PNP for, ang tawag namin dito is non-violent, no? Or those equipment na hindi siya other than the firearm. So, lumalabas ito, meron nga yung mga taser and then meron pa yung tinatawag na mechanized na parang iipunin niya yung tao at ito gamit ang makina.
Quezon City's Task Force Disiplina has responded following a video showing one of their personnel beating a man for alleged lockdown violations. The group admits there has been a lapse on how their men handled the situation. Lynn Olavario has a story.
Wounds and abrasions to the head, face, and leg. This was what Michael Rubia showed the media after receiving a beating. He was repeatedly hit with a stick by Task Force Disiplina officer Joel Laurel. The footage taken in Panay Avenue, Quezon City has since made rounds online. In the video, the 38-year-old fish vendor can be heard screaming. Some witnesses immediately expressed concern over the incident.
Hindi namin kinukonsente, masama bang kumana, lahat tayo, we have all the rights. Hindi ba walang kumuha? Pero you're abusing your power. Hindi nyo dapat gulpin ng isang tao. Ando na po tayo, pero pagtulungan nyo na lang italin. Italin nyo ang paa. Italin nyo ang paa at saka kamay.
Authorities say Rubia tried to resist arrest. According to Task Force Disiplina Head and Quezon City Councilor Rani Ludovica, Barangay South Triangle authorities sought their help to arrest Rubia, who they said was violating quarantine rules by having no quarantine pass and face mask. They said Rubia had been unruly and was cursing authorities. The vendor also reportedly tested positive for drug use.
Nung kinausap ko, nakita ko agad na pananalita pa lang, medyo bulol na at medyo iba yung lakas niya. So pinadrag test ko. Nung pinadrag test ko, nakita ko na positive sa drugs. So kaya pala ganun siya kalakas at ganun siya walang respeto dahil high na high siya sa drugs.
Despite repeated warnings by the barangay, Rubia kept coming back to sell fish. He said manning his employer's fish shop had been a source of income. Without it, he would have to go back to scavenging for survival. Still, he believes the beating he received was too much.
Hindi po ako nagmumura. Nagsasabi po ako ng hindi naman po kasi akin yung kinukuha nila eh. Pinababantayan lang sa akin. Nangangatwiran lang po ako ng konti. Pero hindi po ako lalaban sa kanila. Malalaki sila eh. Ano naman laban ko eh.
Ludovica admits their task force personnel had gone overboard.
Ang punto din namin doon, kung ito naman ay talagang sumamalan din ng maayos, hindi na rin siguro dumating sa ganung sitwasyon dahil lang trabaho lang yung naman talaga rin namin na i-implement yung batas. Pero hindi rin namin dinidinay, lalo na ako, na nag-overact din yung tao po namin. Humihingi rin po akong dispensa puro sa mga pangyayaring yun at kami naman po ay hindi namin to-tolerate kaya sinuspended din agad namin yung tao po namin.
The Quezon City government has issued show-cause orders requiring the public officers involved in the viral video to explain their actions. Charges against Rubia have been dropped, but he will be turned over to the Quezon City Drug Treatment and Rehabilitation Center in Barangay Payatas for drug use. The Interior Department also reminded that while all LGUs are bound to implement quarantine guidelines, enforcement and apprehension of violators should be done in a reasonable manner. A report on the incident will be submitted to the DILG Central Office for evaluation. For News 5, Lynn Olivario, We Are One News.
Meralco houses healthcare workers from the medical city in Pasig at the Meralco Center in Ortigas. Meralco offered their multi-purpose hall, which was repurposed as a sleeping quarters. This will serve as a workers' temporary shelter as it is close to the hospital. Meralco assures that they can stay for as long as they need. Healthcare workers will be provided with beddings, amenity kits, internet access, SIM cards, a television with Netflix, and set meals daily. They will also have access to Meralco Center's shower and toilet areas, exercise equipment, and pantry. Currently, 32 frontliners from the TMC are using the facility. That's the latest on the enhanced and expanded community quarantine. For more updates, follow News 5, The Philippine Star, and Business World Online. I'm Jess De Los Santos. We Are One News.